Welcome again to the Life of a Marketer podcast. And today I have Ed Forteau, who is an email expert and helps marketing agencies and other agencies with their email. So, Ed, I'm just going to ask you to tell us about yourself and what you do, and what you're all about.
Sure, Jared. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. We do email marketing. We fix underperforming email campaigns and really everything around email. It starts from the campaign and it goes to the one-on-one communication that one would have, whether you're using direct use of your mailbox provider that you're using, say Gmail or Outlook, or if you're using some marketing app like Active Campaign, Aweber, or Apollo or Limless for outreach. And we help people with all aspects of that.
All right, awesome. And who do you help? What kind of companies do you like to help, generally speaking? And what specifically, what are you guys doing for them?
Sure. Well, we work with a lot of agencies, whether they're digital agencies that are helping their clients get more clients, or they're agencies that have software or advertising. Mostly companies that are using email to drive sales. So when we come in, if it's an agency that a digital agency we're working with, they may be having problems getting their emails delivered for the clients. So they'll bring us in, we'll fix everything, we'll monitor things to make sure that runs smoothly, and help them also with increasing open rates, reply rates, and appointments.
Awesome. So a lot of then you work with a lot of cold outreach.
We do. It's not where we wanted to go, but it seems like that was the direction that people were taking us. So we decided to just go with it.
Awesome, awesome. And all right, so I want to just dive in and just ask you some questions out of curiosity. I've done some cold outreach with email before. Deliverability is always an issue these days. So tell us a little bit. What are the keys to deliverability?
It's funny because I just wrote a post today on LinkedIn talking about that very issue. I don't know if you saw it. That's the reason why you asked the question. It was on your mind. Most people think that with deliverability or email success, quite frankly, it's about the subject line. The list is important also, but the subject line, the body copy, the call to action. Well, those things are all important, but deliverability kind of trumps all of them, because if you cannot get your emails in the primary inbox, you might as well not send them. Nobody's going to see them. Nobody's going to read them. Nobody's going to click on them. So that's the first thing that we work on. And the big problem that people have first is their security authentications aren't properly authenticated. Or security keys aren't properly authenticated. They're SPF, DKIM, DMARC, MX records. Those are the big four. And so we fix those, but then a lot of people think, well, email deliverability is all about those records, and it's not. It's usually that and one or two other things. And as I was mentioning to people on my post, I was asked this question several times. There really isn't a next thing that we look for. It's a mixed bag of stuff. It's usually security keys and something else, or maybe one or two other things. And those are like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It could be a wide variety of things, including stuff that it's not your fault at all. I'll give you an example. I won't name the mailbox provider, but one of the big four, they're having a problem with their AI right now, and it is removing the DKIM records, just removing them, turning them off.
Please tell us the name of the provider, please.
Well, all right. Outlook is having a problem, and it's been going on for quite a while. So it's a bug in the program. It's the AI is just turning off DKIM records,
You gotta love
and you
Microsoft.
wouldn't know it. Yeah, you wouldn't know it, and you wouldn't even know to look there. So you have that. You have many of the ESPs. If you're on you're not getting emails delivered. It could be because it's the sender IP that is being blocked by one of the mailbox providers, and they don't know how to fix it. They've been working on it. We talked to them because we have a staff of 5, but we have over 30 years experience. And a lot of times they'll start asking us questions as to how to fix this stuff. And well, it's your company. You guys should know how to fix it, but we do give them some advice. But again, it's one of those situations where it's out of your control. It's on the side of the ESP, and they don't know how to fix it, but you're the one who suffers from it. So there's some stuff that there's stuff that you can't fix, and you have to be able to identify what those things are and make a decision. Do I stick with this company mailbox provider or ESP, or do I switch to another one?
Which provider do you recommend?
Actually, it rotates. One I'd say that's been the most consistent is MailerLite. They're the most affordable, and they do pretty much everything that all the other premium ESPs do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've tried Ionos before, and that's been a cheap and effective one.
Yeah, a lot of people spend money on the high end stuff like HubSpot, Keep, and expensive doesn't necessarily mean better. I found that a lot of the more inexpensive mid price range providers actually provide better service, better deliverability, and have just as many options.
Right, right. Awesome. So, do you recommend, like, when you're going to do cold outreach, do you recommend uh, the typical thing is to get a new domain, get a provider, an email provider, and then start warming up the email addresses? Is that kind of you guys' methodology?
Yeah, we do that. The problem with cold email is it's problematic. And it's mainly because you're sending an email to somebody who's not expecting it. And if you catch somebody on the wrong day, they'll mark it as spam. And there's not that much room for error. You can send one, you can get one spam complaint per 1,000 emails that you send. You
Oh,
start
wow.
getting 2 spam complaints for every 1,000 emails that you send, and now you're on the watch list. You start getting into 3, or if it's consistently above 2, then they may downgrade your domain. That could downgrade the sender IPs that you're sending your emails from. All kinds of bad things can happen. So there's a lot of things that we do to protect our clients from that, because it's going to happen. You send out enough emails, you're going to catch somebody on a bad day, and they'll just
Of
hit
course.
spam. It may not be vindictive. They're having a bad day. You just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So one of the things that we do, as you said, you set up a domain, you warm up the domain for 30 days. What we do is we set up subdomains. So we may set up 3, and we just assume that at some point that one of those subdomains is going to get burned. We're warming up the backup subdomain so that there's no downtime. So when we see that there's a problem with that domain, because of most likely spam complaints, could be bounce rates too that are too high, we switch that domain over to the other subdomain, and that seems to work. But I tell people, when you're sending cold email, you shouldn't necessarily use a lot of the automation that's out there to send out mass email, which is what most people want to do. As you should have a controlled number of emails that are going out, like maybe 50, 100 a day. Keep the volume low. That'll keep you in a pretty safe zone.
Awesome. Awesome. Very good. Well, that's some really good information there. So moving on, changing gears a little bit, what sort of advice do you offer to those that are in the marketing industry, like an agency or a B2B business?
I would say to be honest with your clients and stand your ground when they're at the point where they're getting impatient, and then they want to do some backseat driving. Well, I want you to change this. I want you to do this. Usually it's, I want you to be more aggressive, send out more emails, because it seems to make sense. Like if you're not getting the response you want, just send out more, which has all kinds of consequences. So if you're experienced and you have a process that works, you really just need to find a way to just chill your client out and say, you hired me to do this. Hey, leave me to my work. Hey, be patient. We'll right the ship. But if you're hiring me to do this work for you, you need to let me do it. And if the client just won't allow it, you need to be willing to move on.
Awesome. Awesome advice. Awesome. All right. We skipped a question. So what's the best thing for you about being in the marketing industry?
For me, man, I love. I've got a how do I say this? Uh, I'm very interested in things, and so I find that marketing, there's always new stuff to learn. It's always changing. It's always evolving. And the nice thing about it is you come up with an idea or a direction to take someone, and either you hit the target or you miss it. And if you miss it, there's a lesson to be learned. So you can make some corrections and you try again. If you hit it, then you're trying to be able to do that more consistently, see if you can do it a little bit better. There's always this slight improvement that you're constantly wanting to do. So everything always seems new.
Oh yeah, there's so many strategies. There's so many tactics. There's a new one. It seems like every week there's some kind of tactic that
Indeed.
you come across, and you have to refine your tactics constantly. Just like email, you used to, you could just start blasting out emails 10, 15 years ago. You could just send all the emails you wanted, and now it's extremely sophisticated to be able to send out, to do cold email. You got to do a lot of work to be able to send out a few cold emails, and so it's really much more difficult than it used to be.
I agree. I think the advantage to marketers that are committed to it is that because it's getting harder and more complex, that it's going to take a lot of the people out of the market that aren't willing to do the work. And if you really love marketing, as I do, you welcome these challenges because it's just going to eliminate competition. If you can figure the things out, it's going to be a lot easier.
Sure, sure. So I got to ask you this question. Just for me personally, changing gears once again. What are your favorite tools for email marketing that you use?
Well, for cold email, I'm using Limlist, and I really like Limlist as a cold email tool, also because they have really good education to go along with it. Um, for verifying emails, I like a program called ClearOut. That's one of the things that people don't realize is that after COVID, a lot of the companies didn't keep up with the data that's out there because so many people are moving around. And ClearOut seems to do the best job of verifying the highest percentage of emails. So I get an advantage by using that service. There's another ESP that I use. It's a bit exotic. It's called InCharge. And I just like the automation that it does. It's designed for behavioral email, which is our thing. Based on we make adjustments, we send emails based on people's behavior and
Interesting.
personas. So it's very, very customized what we send out. And because of that, we have high open rates. Our average open rate is about 58%. And
Wow.
just on
58%.
58% with a 13% click-through rate. And it's because of the way we
58.
segment our lists
Right.
through behavioral marketing.
Right. Wow. Wow. Fascinating. Fascinating. So, man, if you are looking at doing email marketing, this is the person I talk to. So that's your average, 58%.
58%. And that's in-house, but what we find is our clients, average anywhere from 40 to 60% open rates, and usually around 10%. And they're just following our playbook, and it just works.
Wow. Wow. That's impressive. That's impressive. And uh, can you give us some examples? What are some niches and marketing agencies that you've worked with to do this?
Well, a lot of the agencies we work with are sort of in the lead generation business.
Hmm.
So with those guys, instead of the traditional, if they ask us, instead of the traditional way of doing cold email where you're sending out an email to somebody and you're trying to schedule an appointment right away, the thing that that I talk to them about is, okay, why don't we slow down? Instead of sending a volume of email out, we'll look at three factors when we're sending the email. So who is this? What is this? And what do you want me to do? So the who is this is really important. So we'll do some pre-email marketing, which might include LinkedIn, where we're getting on somebody's radar. They see our name. They don't have to see it very often, either on a conscious level or subconscious level. They go, "Oh, I've seen Ed Forteau. Like, why did he send me an email?" So now I have a much better chance of getting it open. And then what is this? What we do is we'll find something personal, usually a compliment, that we'll put at the top of the email, because I don't care who you are. If you're complimenting somebody, it's like candy. Almost everybody will love a compliment. So even the grouchiest person, it just changes their day. So you start with a compliment, then you transition over to why you're reaching out to them, and then you ask them to take an action, and you want to make sure that action is appropriate to the relationship. Since you don't know the person, asking for 15 minutes of the time is inappropriate. Uh, what is appropriate is, hey, I've got this guide that solves this particular problem that we know in advance they have. I'd be happy to send it to you if you're interested. And we get a reply from that. And now we're involved in somewhat of a conversation. And I tell everybody what you want to do is get something going back and forth. You can talk shop, but not talk business right away about doing business, not talk about doing business, but talk shop. And then you can transition that conversation, which is non threatening, into an ask of almost anything you want at that point. So if you and I were talking back and forth, it doesn't matter, like 2, 3, 4 emails going back and forth. And then I say, "Hey, Jared, there's something I want to run by you. Do you have 15 minutes that we could talk about it?" I'm much more likely to get a yes from that, because we've conversed a little bit before that, than if I do it right away. And you're going to be more open to what I have to present to you if I do it that way.
Yeah, maybe if you've given someone something, they feel like that they feel like they've received something, and so maybe they feel like they owe you something, and so getting on a phone call might be a way that they could repay you for having given them something valuable that they like, something like
Yep.
along those lines. Yeah.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. If the law of reciprocity goes to work, there's a lot of other psychological things that happen up to that point. What I learned from studying NLP is that a lot of things you can do leading up to the sale that will almost ensure a positive response when you get to those kind of closing questions, like the pre-closing questions, even the pre-sale questions. You're just getting somebody comfortable with you, and
Right.
as you lead up to that point. And that's one of those things. It is reciprocity.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. All right. One more question to close that we always ask. Oh, I've got two more questions. I'm sorry. This is a totally selfish question, Ed, because we're always trying to get good people on our podcast. What other successful people in marketing, they're kind of like yourself, would you like to acknowledge that you think should be on the podcast?
Yeah, I have two. One guy is his name's Philip Horn. He's from Scotland, and he is a LinkedIn Sales Navigator expert. The guy is a wizard when it comes to LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Another guy and his name is Jesse Gilmore. He's a client of ours. And what he does is he works with agencies to help them become more profitable and efficient. So instead of working like a lot of agency owners working 60, 70 hours a week, he can get them down to under 40 while also increasing their profits. He's very good at what he does.
Oh, I'll have to hit him up. That would be a good one for our podcast for sure. Both of them, actually. Thanks for
Oh,
that
yeah. Oh,
recommendation.
you're
All right. And
welcome.
so we've got one question, final question. This is just for fun. Tell me the oldest technology that you remember using.
Okay, yeah, I remember seeing that question. I actually have two. I can go to the one that I've used for personal use and then one that I've used for business use.
Okay.
So the personal use, and it was on your list, was Intellivision. I loved Intellivision. I got it in college. We played all the time. The other one is a program called Postmaster, which also I think you had on a list, but I don't know if it's the same one. And this was an email program. It was a desktop application for sending out mass email before Aweber and all these other companies
Yeah,
came
yeah,
along.
I remember that software. What in television? What is that? I don't even know what that is.
That was at the time, Atari was the big video game, very basic, Pong. And
Right, right,
people would be bored out of their mind playing that now. And television was different because the graphics are not that great, but you could do all kinds of things. They had basketball and football, and they actually had
oh,
players. A lot of fun. Again, kind of boring now compared to Madden and the games that they have that
right.
look realistic. But back then, that was a blast.
Interesting. And television, I have not gotten that one yet. We've gotten the Commodore several times,
Yep.
Atari, of course, but television, I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't even know what that is. I've never even, maybe I've heard of it, maybe I have.
You might have seen it. My mother, when she passed, we had a estate sale, and I didn't even know that my Intellivision game was buried in the basement somewhere, and somebody pulled it out. They were so excited to get it, and they said, "Do you have any other games for this?" And we're looking around, and yeah, you can whatever. I forget what we sold it for, next to nothing, because I thought, well, who wants to play this old digital
Oh,
game?
you
But
may regret that later.
yeah, I was just after I saw your question, I saw how much they were going for on I think on eBay, and I go, wow, I think I gave that away to that guy.
Oh, how much were they going for on eBay?
Well, I think they were up to 250. Yeah, a couple of them. There's some that were inexpensive, but this one was in perfect condition. I think even
Oh,
had the
wow.
box. Yeah.
Oh man, if you keep it for another 5 or 10 years, you probably could have sold it for a lot.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
It's so
But
interesting.
yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun back then, but we've moved on.
Right, right, right. Well, fascinating answer to that question. That's a new one. No, we've never gotten that one so far. All right, Ed, we try to keep this podcast short, so we're going to end here. Thanks so much for being on. That was just really informative, the information that you gave us on so many levels. So I really, really appreciate it. You can catch the Life of a Marketer podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. We stream it on social media, and then you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will release it at the exact same times. If you like us, please like and subscribe. Share it with other marketers. We're creating a community where we share information, clients with each other, and help each other out. So feel free to like and subscribe and grow this channel. Thanks so much. Over and out. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks.